MegaHerzzz. You're listening to MegaHerzzz on 4ZZZ.
You are listening to MegaHerzzz here on 4ZZZ 102.1 FM. My name is August, my pronouns are they, them.
My name is Klaire, my pronouns are she, her.
My name is Charlotte, my pronouns are she, they.
My name is Sisi, my pronouns are she, her.
And it is lovely to be here with you on this lovely Monday morning, or Monday afternoon, in fact. We just wanted to chat a little bit about our weekends, what we've been up to. What have you all been up to, my lovely co-hosts?
I was on a bender of going to see my friend August's band play 2 nights in a row, and it was the best weekend ever. I saw Margaret play at both the Wellers Hill Bowls Club, which was awesome. Joy and Whimsy. Joy and Whimsy are always killing it, always focus on femme and non-binary fronted bands. So amazing, so important. And I also got to see got to go to the wonderful freak show put on by creative Indy Wallace. Yes. And got to see Margaret play again there, as well as lovely friends of the station, Dirty Harry, and some other bands. How was your weekend?
I mean, it was good. It was a lot of doing that. But yeah, both those gigs had wonderful lineups with a lot of really cool femme artists. On the Saturday, the freak show, there was also OK Please, who played the Sterling Cannon, and I want to give a really big shout out to Delilah, who does synths for Sterling Cannon, and she's just so awesome. If you may have heard Sterling Cannon if you were tuned into last week's Randomised, because they played a set, and that in the wee early hours of the morning. But yeah, they are just incredible live. And also Brian Emo played, which was a fun time. And Kisses were the headliner on Friday's Joy and Whimsy event. And yeah, I 100% agree with what you say. Monty and Alice, who run all of the Joy and Whimsy events, are so focused on getting femmes to the front, and they're also just so lovely and just always run like really lovely, sweet, incredible events. This one was the first time it wasn't held at Echo and Bounce or in season 3, and it was at a little bolo, the Wellers Hill Bolo, which was a really fun vibe, and it was a lovely time. And I'd love to hear what you two have been up to as well, if you have anything fun to add.
Not much on the weekend, but I did get to go see Merzbow and Lawrence English play at the IMA last week.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so I actually haven't been to a gig at the IMA before, so, I've been there for, gallery stuff, and,
Like the one in the Fortitude Valley?
Yeah, like the Institute of Modern Art, I think, yeah. And then so they have, this big room upstairs, and it was, a noise music set, because Merzbow's from Japan, and he's, a noise, experimental artist.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So everyone's just, sitting on the ground, crazy lights going, and he's just playing, noise. It was very interesting atmosphere. Yeah, and I feel like there's a lot of, in Brisbane, a lot of experimental music happening right now. I think next week there's, a house show that's also, noise music. There's a lot of, DIY people, experimenting. Yeah, so lots of cool stuff like that.
That's awesome.
That's so sick. Hell yeah.
And also a variety of venues as well. Just in that last week, you got a Bowls Club gig and an IMA gig. They're not what you would typically expect, but I guess that's what happens when you lose all of your music venues. You've got to be creative in houses as well.
Absolutely. Lots of house shows happening, I feel like. It's definitely more of a thing.
Yeah. Speaking of music news, this isn't explicitly feminist, but I do think it's worth noting. You guys, dear listeners, may have heard that Soul Bar, which is one of the main venues on the Sunshine Coast for live music, was forced to shut over the weekend, which is incredibly sad, but from what I saw on social media, they seem to have a really nice send-off. I believe Betty Taylor played, and they're always a heap of fun. But yeah, I grew up on the Sunshine Coast, and it's just really sad to see so many of the Sunshine Coast, very few live music venues shut. I believe the station or night quarter, I forget what it's like actually called, but the main like semi-large music venue on the coast got shut down as well, because it's just like really hard for like live music venues to make a living, particularly on the coast when there are less people going out than say here in MegaHerzzz and Brisbane. But yeah, I wanted to make note of that because that was really sad.
Even in Brisbane, all the like in the past like 12 months or whatever, we've lost like the zoo, bearded lady, like just all like really cool stuff.
And it's like definitely because they also don't get much support. I know in Canberra there was like recently, I think it was on the Kisses tour, when Kisses was playing in Canberra, the show got cancelled and the venue got shut down for having like satirical posters about fascism.
What the flip?
So they had like posters on the windows, and then the police came and shut down the whole venue.
The police?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
so
they
they
got
did like a
nothing
crime
to
scene.
do.
Yeah.
Do something better with your time.
Yeah, far out.
So definitely not heaps of support for venues, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be worked towards if we want our live music venues in southeast Queensland to still like exist, you know, because it's like it's really important to really nurture local homegrown talent, particularly those of like femme voices, which we always want to highlight here at MegaHerzzz and here at 4ZZZ in general. But before we get too much further into the program today, I would just like to take a bit of time to acknowledge the Jaggera and Turrabul people as the sovereign owners of the unceded land on which we live and broadcast. We pay our respect to elders past, present and future, and the Jaggera and Turrabul and Quandamooka nations, and we stand in solidarity with all First Nations people in the fight for justice. And next up, we have a segment on our show every week, if you are not a regular listener, where we report on the femicides that are occurring in so-called Australia. This is a subject that has a bit of a heavier, like it's quite a heavy topic, so please take care of yourselves. We have hotlines that we'll read out at the end of the segment. If you or someone you know is in need of these services, and please tune out if this is something that will be potentially triggering for you. Look after yourselves and take care of yourselves, please.
So in the past week, police have launched a homicide investigation into the death of 42-year-old Catherine Sanowski. Catherine died at a Balbird Park, Queensland property about 2 weeks before she was found by police on February 18th. A 34-year-old person was located nearby and taken to hospital, where they remain under police guard. Catherine is the 11th Australian woman killed this year. Last year we lost 78 women and 106 were killed in 2024. Sherele Moody is still trying to get a royal commission into the killing of women and girls, and she has a petition available in the link in her bio on Instagram, or you can go to change.org, Femicide Royal Commission.
Sorry, I just realised that there was one more thing that we need to talk about here. Actually, no, sorry. There was just a missing person from the Fortitude Valley, from the Sunshine Coast. Oh. But I've just looked here and she's been found.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Okay. Positive news.
Yes,
positive
news. Found person.
Yes. Very, very good.
Do you want to give us the support lines, Sisi?
Yes. We have, if you need some support, 1-800-RESPECT, 1-800-737-732. If you need the women's line specifically, 1-800-811-811. If you are somebody, a man who is potentially a perpetrator of violence, you can break the cycle. Call 1-800-600-636. That's 1-800-600-636. So we're gonna have a little chat about Iran because it's necessary. It's a crazy time to be, well, I was going to say a young person, but a person who can follow the news, which we should all be doing. But in case people were just enjoying the weekend offline, a lot's happened. So it's pretty morbid. So I just want to give you a bit of a content warning.
So the death toll from an Israel military strike on an Iranian elementary girls' school has risen to 148. I think that's an important place to start because it's important that we keep... It's constant talks about war at the moment and about strikes, even if they're not war. But we need to keep in mind that they're civilians. In this case, they're school children. It's horrific, and there's people, real people involved in this. As a bit of context and history, in mid-June last year, Israel launched airstrikes against Iran, sparking the 12-day war. After hundreds of civilian deaths, hostilities ended with a ceasefire. Sanctions on Iran crippled the economy, leading to soaring prices for Iranian citizens. On December 28, 2025, protests broke out over the country due to mass inflation, which developed into anti-government protests. This led to a 2-week blackout and internet shutdown throughout Iran. The feminist woman life freedom movement was strong within the anti-government protests, which called for a regime change and better quality of life and freedom for women in Iran. US and Iranian nuclear negotiations began in early February this year, which allegedly led to progress on lowering the Iranian nuclear capacity. But 2 days ago, on February 28, Israel launched strikes to Tehran. Israel claimed this strike was preemptive, in quotes, which is unlawful under international humanitarian law. An alleged preemptive strike implies self-defense, but it's clearly not self-defense given that there's been nearly a month of peace talks with the US and Iran didn't strike any missiles towards Israel, but have following their attacks. 2 quotes from Trump yesterday, which should scare all of us. And I quote, "Finally, to the great proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations." And another quote, "The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. We're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission." The fact that Trump used the word war is a really crazy thing. Like that hasn't been said so far in this. So that should be very alarming. But Trump is claiming that this war is to action a regime change in Iran, which is, I do want to acknowledge that is something that a lot of people do want. But as we've seen in Venezuela, an imperialist power bombing a country can't be framed as an attempt at freedom. Like that's not the way about it. And I also want to say that Albanese was the first world leader to support the US. So that's where we're at the moment. But I think that it's probably a good start to a discussion. Does anyone want to go?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's been a lot of like discussions in this in regards to like the whole like regime change concept, and it's definitely like a thing where it's, you know, it's like means to like the end. You know, you can't exactly reach an end where it's in any way positive through these violent means, especially through these forms of means where it's you know, another major like global power intervening in something and just like. Yeah, and also what's been happening with the strike on the supreme leader, I believe. You can see there's a lot of like discussions also in like diaspora communities, like Iranians, you know, in Australia or in other countries, and they all have very mixed opinions on the supreme leader, of course, because there is that, you know, regime that has been in for decades. But just the fact that this is the way that like things are going and that there are these strikes and there are civilians involved, it's something very alarming, I think.
Well, I don't think it paves the way for like a leader who is going to be better to take over. I think, you know, when it is instigated by powers that are outside of Iran, it's, you know, it's not like self-determined by the people. They haven't chosen this themselves. Yeah, I think it is very mixed. Obviously, you know, the people in Iran didn't want him to be in charge, of course, but I think it's who's going to take over now. Are they going to be any better?
Yeah, it's definitely like a matter of like also like power. I think I'm reading like a lot of the news they've been referring to, and the like political analysts have been saying that like this is no means to a regime change. Like it's not just gonna happen just because you know, bomb a country. Yeah.
Bomb school children.
Yeah.
Like it's ridiculous. And I think that oh no, sorry, I lost what I was gonna say. Sorry guys. I think something.
Yeah. I mean, we would love to hear what you think, and you know, these are important conversations to be having in the world that we live in, when this is just something that is happening that we need to be aware of to be good global citizens. And yeah, I mean, to add on to what you were saying before, Sisi, I do think it is interesting, like using like Trump coming out and saying the words war, which I mean has always been easily perceived to be the main goal here, but he's been one of the first world leaders to say it as like brazenly. Even how they changed the name of the Department of Defense to the Department of War, like it's just so brazenly clear that that's what the aim is by that administration, and it's just quite daunting.
Yeah, you clearly don't care about peace. You clearly just I don't know, it just feels like they just want to cause havoc wherever they can and exercise control and power wherever you can. And if the US is now in charge of this war, you know, it just, you know, alleviates Trump's power even more, which it's never a good thing, I think.
And I don't want to say this we were discussing this before, I don't want to say this to take away from how horrific it is for people and civilians, and also people Iranians living in Australia and all over the world. But also points that have been raised is that at a time where and trigger warning, where the Epstein files have been released and Trump has been, within the last few days, named, and there's evidence showing that he is a child rapist, and then this is dominating the headlines. It's really hard for him to get accountability for his horrific actions, and everyone else is looking elsewhere, which they should be. But he should be held accountable, and he's not being held accountable right now because he's declaring war, which also is not his to do. A president can't declare war. That's something that the US Parliament should be doing. So it's just a gross act of dictatorship. What the hell? It's so scary to watch from afar, and then watch our own Prime Minister go out there and endorse it immediately before anyone else.
Such a disappointment.
Yeah.
I also just feel like it's a bit ironic of Trump to pretend to care about, you know, the lives of women in Iran if, you know, when he has been named in Epstein files doing, you know, horrific acts of violence to women, and, you know, and then turning around and bombing Iranian children and girls. You know, you can't really claim to, care about Muslim women in any capacity and care that, you know, about regime change for women. You actually don't. You are just exercising control, as your actions demonstrate.
Yeah, you're just trying to using the lives of women and children around you as a distraction from your own, like, actions. Yeah, it's incredibly sad and heavy topic. So yeah, please, like, obviously exercise care. We should have said the same thing that we say at the beginning of the femicide thing here, because it is quite a heavy topic, but still take care of yourself, take care of love the people around you. Yeah, it's very important. Before we head off, because we do have to head off very soon, we're going to chat a little bit about the Women's Asian Cup. What's happening there?
So this week, the Women's Asian Cup has began. I think it began yesterday. It's running from March 1st to the 21st, and it's played across Perth, Sydney, and the Gold Coast. So tonight we've got a couple of games that you could catch on the Gold Coast if you wanted. There's Australia versus the Philippines. No, that was
I think
yesterday.
that happened
You're
yesterday.
right. No, Korea versus Iran tonight, which I think is, very fitting. If you want to support the Iranian women's team, I think that would be really awesome to go to.
Yes.
Also the Koreans.
Oh,
You could
that's
support
yeah.
either.
Nah.
Hey, you can support
Nah. Iran for the win. No. Watch them all. You can listen to runbacks on ABC Sport Radio, or you can watch it on Paramount Plus. I think it's just really cool. The Matildas are obviously playing. They played yesterday, and then they're playing on Thursday and next Sunday on International Women's Day. Very cool.
Oh, how fitting.
I know a lot of our listeners out there are probably fans of the Matildas. So,
Yeah.
have a little watch and support some women's sport this week.
Absolutely. It'll be really fun to watch along and listen to them back on home soil. That'll be really awesome. Now, we are kind of running out of time here, unfortunately, but thank you all very much for listening in. We are going to leave you with one by Pink Pantheress, who was on the top of our minds because she just won a Brit Award for Best Producer and something else, I believe, as well. But the Best Producer award, she was the first woman ever in the history of the Brits to win the Producer Award, which is crazy that first is even happening, like, in 2026. But you know what? I guess better late than never. And didn't you say the only other woman to get nominated?
Yeah, the only other one was in the 80s and was Kate Bush. And since then, there's been no one nominated for this. That was a woman. Yeah.
Pink Pantheress is also the youngest
the
to ever
youngest
win it.
one.
So young women kind of taking over the world. Very cool.
Yes. And this award's been going on since the 70s. So
Wow.
2 women nominated ever.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Women
Shocking.
win!
Yay! Well, thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. It's been a very fun episode. And we will be back here, same time, same place, next week. Bye! This has been MegaHerzzz. See ya.
Isn't that what feminism is about?